Hey, welcome to the 8 a.m. Coffee Podcast. It's Monday, but it does not feel like Monday to me. It feels like every day. Hey, my name's Asher. I'm the host, and that's Paul, and I guess that makes him my co-host. And we have a special guest. This is an old friend of mine. Not that you are old, by the way.
I'm very old. I'm very old.
Born at a young age. This is Taylor from Golden Rose Coffee. How are you doing?
Good. Good morning.
So, we were discussing, or more, I texted Paul and said, I'm going to start doing this. We want to start asking people, how do you take your coffee?
I'm black,
Black,
straight,
just
straight
straight.
black coffee. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah,
Now now that I am exposed to so many different roasts all the time, I either the best way to like see all the differences between them is to just have them straight.
yeah, yeah.
So
It makes
yeah,
sense.
black coffee all the way. What
Yeah,
about you?
it's same for me. I'm guessing that's same for you, Paul.
It depends on the day,
Okay.
honestly.
It
I don't know.
it depends on time of day for me too, and like the weather. Because if I'm like working at a coffee shop and it's like 2 p.m. and it's sunny, then I kind of want something cold and I want something sweet maybe. So,
Hmm.
yeah. I'm a little all over the place with that stuff. So,
Love it.
yeah.
Strangely enough, if I drink cold coffee, I drink it black.
Really?
Always.
Whoa.
Always.
Like a cold brew?
Yeah, cold brew or nitro or whatever y'all are smarter than I am do with coffee. So,
Sure, sure. I don't think I'm that smart with coffee, but Taylor, I'm assuming you are.
I would hope so.
Um,
Oh, so we're just gonna. Can you hear?
are you there? Check, check. We've had a little bit of a Skype issue today. Just the whole Skype MO, I think. Checking, checking.
Hey, it's a Monday.
It it is a Monday.
Okay. Yep. It's going in and out. So we're back. I hear you again.
Weird.
Weird.
So coffee,
So like
coffee on a
talk
Monday.
again between it going out.
Right, right.
Yeah.
And we're back. This
We're
is
back.
this is like radio. We're just tuning back in, you know?
Oh, hey, I need to share this thing.
I shared it. Let's do this.
Okay.
You sunny
Yay!
it and I'll share it.
All right, okay. I
So,
like that. That's funny.
I have been to Golden Roast over on the strip like twice before, and it's
Yeah.
fantastic. Um,
Uh,
I also had food there, and the food was also fantastic. It was some form of like I'm telling you all this to see if you can tell me what it was, because it was some kind of like chicken salad sandwich, but not.
the curry chicken salad
That was it. Yes,
one. Yeah, everybody loves that.
something like
It's,
something Asian and something not Asian is all.
they put so much curry powder in that it's its own thing for
Yeah,
sure.
it morphed into something else. Yeah, it's delicious. But we were chatting over Facebook maybe a couple weeks ago just about some cool ideas that you had for Golden Roast, and some things that ideas that you were throwing around and things that you were thinking. So what of those, like, what are you the most excited about? Are
Well,
you
I
allowed to
think
talk about them?
yeah,
Okay,
yeah.
cool.
I mean, it's all we're just basically in this mode of like every other business right now, trying to figure out what it's going to look like as we open back up because there's no going back at this point.
Right.
Like things have to change permanently, and we have to adapt in order to thrive again.
Yeah.
So me, this looks like an opportunity to shift and support more local businesses
Hmm.
because it seems like if we kind of have this, hive mentality where like everybody everybody is in this together, then
Yeah.
when something like this happens again, hopefully not,
Sure,
but like
sure.
then we're all supporting each other, and that's what we've seen a lot. We've seen a huge like community push, and
Oh no, we lost your audio.
She's saying that she hopes it happens to continue, and then now can you hear me? Shit, no, we can't hear you. I'm just saying what you're saying. That's all I'm doing. Sorry. I don't know if hey, listen, while she's muted, and I can tell you something funny about my life, that my mom, who is deaf, actually talks like she speaks because well, she does. And then you can understand her completely, but yet I'll interpret for her and just say out loud what she's saying over and over again. Can you hear us? But we can't hear you. And unless you know sign language, we're okay. But really, if you know sign language, just keep going. Okay. Also, my mom and I shut down an entire like online conference because our hands were moving so fast that it shut down the entire computer system.
Oh my gosh.
Yeah, it was great.
That's amazing.
Yeah. I don't know what's going on, but we're muting her for some reason, which is really sad because she's talking about like community supporting community and work supporting work, and
right.
We're just gonna like kind of chat until we can hear her, I guess.
Check.
Can you hear me? I can hear you.
Me?
I just can't hear her.
Yeah. I gotcha.
Yeah. Because we're kind of in the same boat right now. Like we're starting to go back out, starting this week. So
yeah, doing like a neighborhood thing.
Yeah, neighborhood thing that we can't advertise and tell you about. So,
Perfect.
We can't tell you where we're going. Can't tell you where we're going.
Love it.
May or may not be selling alcohol off the truck. Because I want to get her on because I want to talk to her about coffee. I love coffee.
I know. Taylor, I'm going to maybe try and remove you and then invite you back and just see if that does anything.
By the way, because I'm pretty sure we're still on Facebook Live just doing this, right?
Sure we are. Yeah, absolutely.
Oh, awesome. Yeah, because like, hey, these calls get messed up and everything's not perfect, especially when you're your own production team. And
absolutely.
By we are our own production team, I mean you are the production team, and I just show up. As Taylor found out this morning, I show up at 3 minutes till we're supposed to be on.
Can you hear me?
I hear you now.
We can hear you. There you go.
2 minutes.
Nice.
Okay.
Now that I've rambled, there you go.
No, that's awesome. So you're gonna have alcohol. That's great. We're not gonna do that, but maybe we should adapt that. I like that plan.
And if they tell us to stop selling it, we'll just drink.
Yeah.
And be fine.
Sure.
Better.
I mean,
for forgiveness than
they will
percent of the time.
because I have to drive the truck and I can't.
Right.
That's not happening.
Well, it seems like there's a lot of lax alcohol restrictions, and so hopefully we can.
There are no rules right now.
It's the Wild West.
Yeah, it's awesome.
We have been told if we have any form of ABC license whatsoever,
wow,
game on, as long as it's in a sealed container.
Really?
And a container can be tape over a straw hole at this moment. It is like hilarious. A daiquiri bar in Louisiana. I am not even ashamed of it. Oh, not well. Actually, we made sorry. Let's talk about coffee. Let's not talk about booze. I mean, I get it's 5 o'clock somewhere. It's 8:13 in the morning here.
That's going to be our next podcast. Yeah.
So we were talking about you and what you're doing, the new normal, and the sound went out again, didn't it? Did it go out? Yeah, it did.
No,
can't hear
you
us.
can hear us.
Can you hear me?
Oh, there we go. We're good.
Yeah,
We're good.
Yeah, there you are. Come on. Yeah.
God, I wish I could figure that out. Should I try it on my phone? Would that? I don't know. That would. Okay. Anyway. No.
No, we got you.
Yeah, I think we're good.
Cool. So I really want to start like a major community support with local artists and makers, integrate a lot of local food. And like, for instance, we've started somewhat of a partnership with the Lunchbox, if you're familiar with them.
Great
They're going to
people.
be,
Yes.
yeah, they're awesome. So they're going to be making a lot of our existing recipes, and we're going to be bringing in some of their most popular things. And we're actually starting that today. So that's awesome. And then I hope to continue that and like look at more baked goods, some other local people. We've used Best Bagels previously for all, and so I mean they've got the best bagels in town for sure, hence the
It's
name,
the
Makes
name of
sense.
their business.
right?
Have you had them, Asher? Sorry, not to cut you off. Have
Yeah,
you had them?
No,
They're the closest to New York City I've ever had in
really
they're
Knoxville.
so
So like just shout out to them.
cool,
All right.
cool.
good. But so what we started when we had our grand opening was to work with some of the Knoxville Makers group, and we had like a pop up, probably 10 different vendors that came and set up alongside our grand opening. And I want to just continue that and have events like every weekend, have like a little in house market that we do. But then have their products featured like within our shop
Hmm.
and on our website, and do like coffee subscription and possibly have some of that local stuff thrown into that. And just a lot of how can we bring in local artists and makers, whether they're musicians or crafters or whatever may be, make us the hub of that within the community, so that there's just this like everybody wins, everybody's supported mentality.
Yeah,
That's awesome.
that is
Yeah.
awesome.
When you say makers, you mean like retail, like somebody who I don't know exactly how to use the words that are in my head right now, but somebody who produces something and then
Yeah.
sells it, not
Yeah.
a
Like
not
think
a middleman. They actually make
Mhm.
everything. All right,
Right.
cool.
So your soaps and candles, and like we've got a guy, Tito Wilson. Check out his stuff. He's a woodworker, and like he took this tree slab out of North Knoxville, is 130 years old,
Whoa.
and he made us a beautiful community table for our new location. And a lot of other little pieces around the shop. But he's one of that we're really excited to support.
Yeah, when I had an idea and I've never actually pulled the trigger on it. And look, let's just talk about the idea that I
Yeah.
had. Um, and it's not my original idea. I saw it somewhere and they were doing it in London. And these people were trying to open a restaurant, but they were doing it seriously on a shoestring budget. They didn't have enough to whatever, but everything in their front of house was for sale,
Uh,
including the tables and the chairs and the plates and everything. And what they did is they went to makers and said, "Hey, listen, I can't pay you any money, but I can put a price tag on your table in our dining room."
hmm
And they filled their entire dining room and they ended up selling like a table a day
That's
for this
amazing.
Wow.
guy. And all it was all right, you can have it as soon as he makes us another one to replace this one. And everybody was just cool with it because they'd be like, "Why is this price tag on a table?" "Oh, the table is $400. If you want to buy it, that's cool. It's just
Yeah,
going to take like another week and a half for you to get it." And they kept selling tables and chairs
I
to the
love
point
it.
that this guy the guy that was their manufacturer, their maker, opened their own retail store because of it.
Oh
I don't
wow.
know. That's where my brain went when you said
Yeah,
help the
I'd love to
community
throw.
out.
I
And
mean, I'm not willing to part with the table that Tito made for us, but
This particular
I
one.
yeah, this particular
yeah,
one. But
yeah, I understand that.
I but that's it. Like stuff like that where I'm hoping to have more featured. Like,
Mm.
by the way, our table was made by a local artist, and he does a lot of other things.
Right.
And if we could integrate him into our website and more into our shop as a featured thing, then I think, people are going to get really excited about that and on board. Um, to me, that that's what's most important right now is to have that community base, to have the support of local artists. I don't know that group right now is hurting the most.
Mm.
There a lot of people are able to work from home and still continue with their their Etsy's and whatever that they're doing. But like I just want that to be a part of what we're doing more and more.
Yeah, that's really cool. And would that be, and I'm sorry, I haven't kept up very well, the Golden Roast location that I know of, and I feel like everyone knows of, is like out on campus, like really cool location. Parking's terrible, of course, because parking's terrible
Yes.
everywhere downtown. But
Uh-huh.
but the other one is off Sutherland over here, right?
It is, yeah.
It,
It's in so there's an architecture firm, Smee and Busmeet. They have
lucky me.
renovated an old church. And we took over kind of the lower level, the old community hall
Oh, cool.
of the church. I forget what the original church was, but yeah, they're upstairs and with the beautiful like stained glass window that they preserved, and they're all about like keeping the history of the building alive. And so we're down in the community hall, which is really appropriate.
Yeah,
So we're like reuniting people down there, and it's cool to just see. Coffee shop is where people go and hang out and like have their meetings and get together with friends, and so we're kind of reinvigorating that
yeah,
concept from the original church back down into the basement there. So it's awesome.
yeah, yeah. It's really cool. One of the ideas, if you're cool with me sharing it, was to
Yeah.
like have a have a room of that location available for people to podcast because and what was really cool to me about that idea is that like every business on the planet needs a podcast and a lot of them
Hmm.
have one that sounds really bad. So it would be cool to just have a place for like local Knoxville businesses to, come in for an hour and just kind of talk about like what they're doing that week and post it and have a good setup to where it all sounds good and it's not just like
Right.
I'm talking on my phone today and posting it because um scarily enough in the podcasting world you can do that and just post whatever you want. um
Hmm.
yeah, and then
Yeah.
maybe it doesn't sound so great or you don't have someone to produce it or something. So
Right.
However, Amazon has sold out of podcast mics.
I
So
am sure. Yes.
no, they are out. They're out.
makes sense
So
though.
phase two of our project, because we've got this kind of front end of the community hall, and then it opens up into a back space. And so what we're hoping to do with that back area is to make more of a kind of a work vibe where it's more quiet, kind of loungy area where people can rent out the whole space to have their meetings, and then we'll have like a separate room. And like you're saying, that was an idea that we were tossing around to kind of have things ready and available
Hmm.
for people to try out their hands, so that they're not having to make like an initial investment on something, or they just want to go and do this, from a place that has better equipment. And part of that would be like bringing in experts to have little meetings and like class type
Yeah,
things,
yeah.
and not just for podcasts, but like whatever you're interested in, have a regular schedule of people that like, on Friday you can come down and hear more about how to start a business,
Hmm.
or how to make soap, or there's lots of different people that sell essential oils. Have someone come down and talk about those. So
Oh yes there are.
just yeah, there's just, there's a million different people and so many different experts that you could bring in all
Yeah.
the time. So I just wanted to, like every day of the week have on the calendar something going on that people can come and be a part of or tap.
sounds sounds so nice to be around people.
Yes, I know.
Sorry. Sorry. This is like, it's gonna be nice.
It's
It's
gonna be
gonna
so
be
nice. Have you
nice.
seen all the memes about like the first hug back when you get to like hug your friends again? Are you guys huggers? Ashley, are you a hugger?
No,
No,
I
I
mean
did.
for some people
Paul's like, yes.
I definitely tolerate it because I know they're just gonna hug me anyway, and I'm like, okay, I can do this. But
You've learned to accept it.
sure,
Yeah.
sure.
Well, I'm a hugger for, well, two reasons. One of my love languages is physical touch.
Mhm.
Like I like to hug, but the second one is because my mother, earlier you saw me doing sign language, is deaf, and deaf people don't shake hands, they hug. So it's a deaf culture thing. So when they see somebody and they immediately hug them, they also, if they have an initial conversation, you better just get ready to be hugged back, because even if you don't know them, they're going to hug you before you leave. And it's just one of those things. So, and there's something comforting about, especially a long, good hug, that it just like, hey, it's kind of one of those I got you things. And
Yeah.
yeah, it's just I'm I'm ready to be around people. Now, I will say this: I am not busting out at the gates to leave,
Yeah.
but I am ready to be around people. My family has definitely enjoyed me being home, so I'm not. I'm being really cautious on how excited I am, especially in front of the children about leaving, because I don't want them to be like, "Oh, he can't wait to leave us,"
Right.
So,
Yeah.
but being able to come down and just honestly just listen to somebody. I would listen to somebody talk about essential oils right now, and I believe in Western medicine. So, and nothing wrong with essential oils. Trust me, we use them,
Hmm.
and actually they work quite well from what I understand and what I've experienced. But I'm not like willing to sit and listen to them.
Right.
I'm more of a
There's
just let me buy them and stop selling me. Like, I'll give you money just so that I can have them and we're good. So
Right.
Well, I think you should come do a sign language class. That would be fun.
I am a horrible instructor. Horrible. Because I don't understand why your hands won't do what I'm doing. And,
Sure. Yeah.
yeah. Oh, no. I'm the worst teacher ever. In fact, I had conversations the other day. I don't know if you have children. I don't.
I do.
I have asked if there are any teachers that are willing to do private school at our house, and you tell me how much it is, and I will pay you at this moment. Not because I don't enjoy the children, it's more because I don't know how to teach them.
Sure. Sure.
And
Yeah.
I'm amazed at Asher because he has the skills available to actually instruct children. I have the skills enough to make them cry when I actually get them to not do Common Core math. So
That's hilarious. Well,
anyways, I just needed to give Asher some props here because it actually does
Absolutely.
amaze me with his dry, sarcastic, human mouth noises that he makes.
it's
That
mostly just noises. Yeah.
mostly just
By the way.
noises. Some people would call it language. That he can get kids that are probably buck wild 9 times out of 10 to sit calmly. At least I believe they're calmly in my head when I imagine it.
That's a toss up, really.
But then they learn how to play an instrument. And I'm like, how in the world do you get them to do this in an hour? I don't know.
Well, I
So,
think, well, here's the thing. Most of them are like half-hour lessons. That definitely makes it a lot easier. This isn't like
mhm,
teaching for an 8-hour workday or anything. Um, but I think, like, I used to really struggle with the patient side of it. And Paul, something you said was like, I totally track with that. Like, when I see someone and I've told them how to do it and they're still doing it the other way, yeah, that's definitely frustrating. But I mean, it just reminds me every time of like I struggled with that one time, and it seems to make it easier. And it is fun to be sarcastic with them as they get to like age 10 and 11, they start to catch on to that stuff and then sort of like throw it
yeah.
back too. So
Yeah.
that's
So
really
the
fun.
the little bit of a difference with sign languages is that's asking like the two of you to teach someone English.
Right.
There's no way.
Right.
Like, I mean, like I convinced the University of Tennessee that this was my first language.
Hmm.
Like, so anyways, sorry. Golden roast. What kind of, I'm always interested in, so uh, I'm friends with the people up at Mahalo right?
Uh-huh.
Like just because I had known them before they opened the store, and they were talking about the size of roasting that they didn't have a big enough one. What,
Mm.
so I have like weird scientific like recipe questions for you, and I hope you're okay if I go there.
I hope I have the answers. Yeah.
Like, how much volume do you need to
Mm.
produce one bag of coffee? Like when I see like a 3 pound bag of coffee, all I see is a 3 pound bag of coffee. What does it start as? Like how how much volume do you need?
I don't know how much the giant bags that come, the classic like coffee bags in the coffee sacks, the burlap.
Yeah.
I'm not sure how much each one of those weighs, but that's how we order them. That's how they come in, and they
Yeah.
come
Yeah.
in from all over, South America, and they're doing big batches, probably like one of those at a time. Now,
Uh-huh.
I think the issue, like you're getting 1 pound of coffee is going to still be about 1 pound of coffee, and the different beans and the different roasts, they'll end up changing the weight a little bit because
Okay.
of how that process. But it's pretty much that you're still getting like one that the bean size is that amount, but you want to do it, the larger the batch, the more efficient.
Mhm.
It's a long process that takes a lot of energy, and you're using a lot of materials. So I think that if you're just roasting a small batch of 1 pound of coffee, that's not sustainable business.
Right.
Yeah,
Uh,
I'm not meaning it in a business term. I mean, I understand that you're probably making 50 pounds or 50 or
yeah.
100 pounds of coffee at a time. Is it like a 1 to 1, or like do you like, because with sauces, this is where I go with it. I'm like, all right, to make a quart of sauce, I got to start off with a gallon of product,
Right.
and then it reduces and things like that. And I know there's no liquid, but like I'm always in it. I have, like, when I tell you I go scientific and like so super nerdy when it comes to food, like I want to know about the oils and
Hmm.
like how much does that play into mouthfeel, and like
Hmm.
is there fat in the coffee, or is it just oil?
I'm
Which
pretty
is
sure it's
fat,
just
but
Bill. So, something that I learned about recently was like a natural process coffee that we've just started to do. So, the coffee bean comes inside the berry, and
Mhm.
they take it out and they sun dry it, and then that kind of green bean is what is used to then roast. And depending on how long you roast it is what you're getting a light roast, medium, dark, and so you can do the same bean in a different roast and it'll change the flavor of the bean. And then you can obviously add like flavor and different oils to it to bring out flavors or to add flavor to it. But we've got some that, we've got this one Yirgacheffe coffee that we just started doing as like a natural process, and what that means is that the bean has been dried inside of the berry and then taken out
Wow.
rather than taken out first.
Mhm.
And so you get so many more of like the blueberry berry flavor in the coffee because it's like absorbed all of that in the drying process, which normally it wouldn't get as much of. And so it's so cool all the different ways that you can take one bean and totally change it, depending on what you want to do with it, and then like they figured out all the different like temperatures and when it's going to what roast is going to be best for what bean, and it really is like a scientific
Yeah.
experimentation. Paul, you should definitely come down. Our roaster is in Powell,
Mhm.
and we just started a big bottling operation as well. So we've got like the roasting in the back and bottling of cold brew in the front, and it's just such a noisy, cool operation to go and check out.
I want to like go like make a swimming pool of cold brew and just get in it, like that lady on Mrs. Doubtfire, that she like was in a big batch of spaghetti to make herself happy. I think when I'm old and gray and er when I'm
That's
older
on the
and
bucket list.
grayer. Oh yeah.
And,
Yeah.
That's a new bucket list item. I just want to lay in a batch of cold brew and drink out of it. And I'm not even denying it. It'll
Amazing.
be gross for everyone else
Yeah,
but
it's
me.
it's
So
gross. It's certainly gross. Hey, and Taylor, all that stuff is for sale right now, right? The cold brew and then the
yeah.
different kinds of coffee.
oh yeah.
Okay, cool.
Yeah, we just started. So we've adopted, and we're doing a takeout window like some of the other shops around. And so you can order online. We've made our POS system part of our website, so you can do that and then just come and pick it up. We also
Cool.
have our bottled cold brew that you can just purchase and have shipped to your house as well. And we do a Mexico, a Bavarian chocolate, and then a dragon's breath, which is mocha and cayenne pepper, and
Nice.
it is excellent. If you like cayenne, it's so good. So it's got just the right amount of spice to it, um, to really give you that kick.
And for the people that don't have grinders at home, you'll grind it for us as well.
Yes,
Okay.
yes, we've got all the different grinding
All right.
settings, and you gotta get a grinder, man.
And we can do grinder for dummies. Like I can just be like, hey, this is how I brew my coffee. Will you make it for me?
How
And
do
you'll
you brew your
say, yeah.
coffee?
Well, I just started doing the Chemex, so that which I am so disappointed in myself that I haven't done it before now, but I love it. So
Yeah.
I love it.
That
Other
would
than
be
that, what
I was just gonna say that
that
would
would
be such a great like weekly class. Like as you've been talking about that stuff, Taylor. Like here's an hour's worth of how to grind, how to brew in different settings and stuff. I would love that because I definitely
Yeah.
learned some of those things and then definitely do not follow all the correct guidelines. Because with the
Mm.
Chemex, you're supposed to like swirl it around and pour it this way. And I'll be honest with you, sometimes I just pour the water like into it.
I do the zigzag. The
Zigzag.
zigzag.
Yeah.
I,
Okay.
I do around and then zigzag. Around and zigzag.
Well, it's like the coffee that I'm using currently is so cheap and some of it is ground already. Please don't hate me. I'm just trying to be real over here. That I'm like, whatever. I want coffee faster but still through a Chemex filter so it tastes better.
So here's the crazy thing. I do have a coffee grinder. I
Mhm.
just don't use it for coffee. So I grind spices in it.
Ooh,
So it's got
So
yeah.
maybe not
you should
coffee.
run a dash of coffee through it and see what it tastes like with all those spices added to
Yeah, maybe.
it.
Do that live on Facebook later, Paul. That
I
would be
like the
amazing.
so I one of the other reasons I like the Chemex is because it actually takes a little longer and I actually appreciate it more. I don't know how you brew coffee, by the way, so I hope I'm speaking the right things, but it is my life and the truth. But I also get to act like I'm angry because I'm really just concentrating and I look angry. So
Mhm.
the kids kind of stay away from me and they're like, he hasn't had his coffee yet. And all I'm really doing is like trying to make sure I do it right. so,
Yes, yes,
so
I love
I,
it.
I've talked a
My
lot
my dad
about
was always
kids
like that.
today for
He
the
was
part.
like, "Don't speak to me until I've had my first cup of coffee." Like I definitely have tried to adapt. I don't have like the big scary person appearance, and
That's
so my
true.
boys they're not into it. But I do try to be like, y'all, no, I coffee first. You guys can have some. Just be quiet.
How are they, by the way? And how old are they?
They're 3 and 5, two boys, Crosby and Griffin, and they're good. Yeah, they've enjoyed, like you're saying, they've really enjoyed having me home and just getting to spend all this time. We just watched episode 1 of Star Wars for the first time yesterday, so they're pretty pumped about that. And yeah, we've been having a good time trying to play outside and spend some quality time. You know, 3 and 5 year old boys are pretty wild.
um,
Yep.
I was gonna say the youngest I've ever taught was 3 years old, and that was
Wow.
a drum student. And I think we did lessons for at least a few months, like 3 or 4 months, and it was like I used to live above my parents' garage. It was like a studio apartment kind of setup, and his mom would just like come up there with him and sit and just like laugh at him the whole time in a good way, not in like a he sucks at drums or anything.
Not in the way that I laugh at my children. You're welcome.
Sure, sure. But it was hilarious and wild. And then she was like, "Let's definitely keep giving it a chance."
That
And then
really,
yeah,
yeah.
How did he do? Just really, like, how did he do?
I'll tell you in 30 seconds how a lesson would go. I would be like, "Hey, we're gonna try this thing today," and we would try that thing for about 10 seconds, and then he would just like just jam around the drums, and he was too short to like sit on the stool and actually reach the bass drum, so it was just a lot of jamming on cymbals and snares and toms. And that would go on for another couple minutes, and I'd be like, okay, let's try this other thing. And we would try that for about 20 seconds, and then just some more jamming. So it was cool, though. Like, over time, I could definitely tell some of the patterns were, like, getting into his head, because he would use them as a part of his jamming time. But mostly it was chaos. Mostly chaos.
Mostly chaos.
Yeah.
I would have wanted to watch that.
Yeah.
Like, just myself.
I really want to do that for like online courses and things like that, because I really want to teach other people how to teach music lessons. And I think having like, here's an actual 30-minute drum lesson with someone who's, 4, 5, 6 years old, just so people can see like, oh, okay, it really should go like that, and that's a good thing.
Yeah, what to expect. Yeah. Am I doing this right? Should this 5-year-old be playing better yet?
Why are they yelling at me? What game is this?
Yeah, we one of my daughters attempted to play the guitar, but she took guitar lessons. It was probably like on a music, like, as a parent, I'm like, this is cute, like, I love it, I'm great, like, I took a video of it. Took her 15 minutes to play a song that should have taken 3. Cool. Like, but like, she was up on stage with her instructor, like, playing a song, right? And it, like looking back at it, it's great. I've never been that person, because walking away, I was like, this was horrible. Right? This is agony. I'm glad she's my kid, because she's the best, But looking back on it, we were going through old videos yesterday, and it was pretty awesome to watch. Yeah. So from a parent standpoint, like, we appreciate it. So
Sure.
So can you?
No one else may appreciate it.
When it's gonna stick with a kid and when it's not. Do you see that kind of like spark of like, oh wow, I really love this?
That's such a good question. I didn't know I was going to be interviewed today. I'm just kidding. No, that's a great question. I have a very different mentality about that than a lot of other teachers, and I just don't see things that way necessarily. Okay. If that makes sense. And I'm not just trying to be, the anti whatever of that kind of question, but I just think fostering something like that takes so much time, and seeing the spark of it, I think it does happen, but like I never dismiss it in anyone. I know you're not saying that necessarily, but I think it is easy to dismiss after a couple lessons where it's like, oh, they're really not getting this. To me, that just becomes a game of like, what do they really like about it though? And then try and like push in that direction. So my terrible answer to your simple question is I think everyone has it in them.
Cool.
So,
yeah.
It just depends on like how it's fostered and finding the right angle with it. So
I've started some like nighttime sleep meditations with the boys. And it's been awesome, but I realized a couple days into it that I was getting frustrated that they weren't being still, like from the get-go. And then I was like, oh, if I force them to be still right now so that they do this thing, there's no chance that they're gonna like it. Right. They're not be like, hey, can we do that thing again tonight? And so trying to approach things in a way that's just encouraging the things that they like, and not getting too hung up on what they don't love about something. I like that approach. That's cool.
Yeah. The whole standardized testing sucks. So, so
Yeah.
staying away from that as much as possible.
Hey, I've got a question about music lessons. By the way, first of all, we need to plug your studio just really quickly because we haven't done that.
Studio plug.
CHW.
Yeah, CHW. I'll post about it. If anyone's looking for music lessons, I'm doing them online, and it's super fun.
I already did a shameless plug of the food truck on a comment just a minute ago. So somebody asked about it. But do you know who Kobe Bryant is before I start this? He's an athlete that died in January.
Dude.
In a helicopter crash.
Are you asking me or Taylor?
You.
I have
you, not Taylor.
I have so many Kobe Bryant basketball cards. It's not even funny.
Are you serious?
Yeah, we need to talk about it sometime.
Okay. First of all, I'll buy all of them for $5 a card. But you know, something I listened to like one of his speeches, and what he was talking about was when he played basketball, that he was actually one of the worst players when he was 13 years old.
Oh, wow.
But what happened was he was playing all these guys that all they did was work on what they were good at. And he worked on what he was bad at.
Ooh.
Because he already knew that he had that skill. So he would work on, let's say, an 18-foot jumper. He would work on an 18-foot turnaround jumper until he got it perfect. And then go to the next thing and then go to the next thing. And what he found out is that, and I don't know if this is the same with music, that's why I'm asking you.
Yeah.
Is that the guys that were good at it, he eventually got way better than them because all they did was what the two things that they were good at, instead of figuring out how to be better at what he was not good at. Is that kind of how it works in music? I know it works that way in food. I'll tell you that right now.
Sure.
Like if you're bad at cutting things, get a knife. Practice.
Right.
I'm imagining it's the same with coffee. If you're really bad at a specific roast, because they're all different, I've done a little reading on it. Like I've never actually personally done it. So I kind of want to come and like hang out with your roaster and actually like watch and help and all that other stuff. I'll do my best to keep my hands behind my back and not put myself into the situation. But is that kind of what it's like with music? Like you'd have to name something specific for me because I don't really know what goes into it. I just know how to listen to it.
I mean, I would say like the way that you practice is probably the most important thing. To that angle, if you practiced like an AC/DC song and just played it over and over for 30 minutes, obviously you're going to get good at that one thing. But then at the same time, the way you're practicing within that 30 minutes for that one thing can really affect like everything else that you do. So simple answer to your question would be yes. It's definitely a 1-to-1 kind of thing there. But to take it more toward the cooking thing, like I'm not good with a knife, and I don't work on it. So like I cut an onion the same way every time, and it's the same wrong way every time. So I'm really good at doing it that one incorrect way. So
do you cut it like with the ring so you have like small pieces and big pieces?
Sure, I guess. See, I don't even know. Like I don't even remember. As much of a detail-oriented person as I am, like cutting an onion is not one of the details that I think of.
We watched an Epicurious video last night, and a guy cut the onions for onion rings with the skin on, so he could maintain the shape of the onion for the longest time.
Good for him. Taylor,
he was like the level 1, like I never cook ever. Right. Like it's the 3 levels of chefs and how they would do things. He was like, yeah, I didn't make sauces. I went to the store and bought some ketchup. Like, he was just flat out. But he left the rings on, and he you could tell it was such a made up answer.
Right.
He was like, I did it to maintain shape.
Love it.
So Taylor, since you're on this podcast with Music Guy and Food Guy, what have you been listening to and what have you been cooking or eating recently?
I have. I'm excited to listen to all of the new Fiona Apple.
I've heard great things.
Yes, I've listened to a few so far, and she's always been my favorite. I can just like put that Spotify thing that showed you how many times you listen to a song. I think I had like 15 hours of
Whoa.
just Fiona
Yeah,
Apple.
yeah.
Yeah, she's my jam. So definitely her, and I'm excited to dig deeper into that. What have I been eating? I've been really craving a lot of pad thai lately.
Mm-hmm.
So I've had that several times, like quick ones, and gone to pick up from different restaurants. And I'm excited to kind of find some recipes and figure out the best way to make some of those sauces.
Yeah.
Experiment with that because that's definitely one of my favorites.
Yeah, for sure. That's something I'm really bad at is cooking rice noodles consistently every
Mm-hmm.
time because
Mm-hmm.
I have one pad thai recipe that turns out really, really nicely about 70% of the time because the sauce is good, but the noodles, I'm just like, I should research this more, but sometimes they're way too sticky and sometimes they're like perfect. So,
I showed the boys the spaghetti throw it on the wall trick the other day, and we ended up throwing a lot of spaghetti at the wall. it was
that's
it was
hilarious.
pretty awesome.
I threw it on one of my kids, like as
Here we
it
go.
was cool, and they were like, "What are you doing?" I'm like, "I'm throwing it against a dull surface."
Did they enjoy
They
that?
didn't get it and walked
Oh,
on, but everybody else laughed. I was like, "This is great. This is great." I'm I don't know. Yours are 3 and 5, so I don't know if you're at the point of roasting them on a daily basis, but I am. I definitely, the 13-year-old is like, she's my number one target. So now I'm really careful. Like she's a girl, so I don't go too far, and because of emotions and self-worth and image and all that. So we're really cautious about that. However, she still, my favorite story to this day is that she thought her shoes were Adidas, as in plural, and that each one was an Adidas, and it is. She's like, I'm looking for my Adidas, and I'm like, what? We let it go for like a year,
uh-huh.
just so we could laugh behind her back, totally. And then we finally told her, because we're like, you're going to public school, and we don't want you to get
Right.
like, kids are
I
mean.
mean, I like that Adidas and Adidas. I think that's pretty cool.
Yeah.
Yeah, I love little words. We're still in that phase of like um, calling different like Griffin, my 3-year-old. I think he still calls zebras like ZBs, and I think there was like Ziza for a while, and I just want some of those things to stick around because they're so
Right,
adorable, and
right.
they're really way more accurate than what the real word is a lot of the time.
Yeah.
Like, yeah, that makes way more sense.
It's
It
like
definitely
more
should be called
descriptive.
that.
Yeah.
You
Yeah.
the youngest girl, and I'm not trying to talk about Tiger King, I'm really not, but she doesn't call her Carol Baskin, she calls it Carol Baskets.
Carol Basket.
Like,
Yes.
but she's been referring to her bed as a Carol Basket.
Oh my
Carol
gosh.
Basket.
She also, what did she say the other day? That was, oh no, it was me. Uh, so I can't say Ed Sheeran's name right, Sheeran.
She
So
ran.
I keep calling him Ed Sheeran, like it's Ed and Sharon. Like,
I can barely handle that right now, just for the record.
but I mean, in all honesty, I still listen to all of his song except for the last 15 seconds and go to the next one still.
Perfect. So
Love
I'm
perfect.
it.
just trying to trigger Asher at this point. I think it's 8:53 in the morning. This is the trigger Asher with every bad musical comment that I can make.
It's okay. I told you Lindsay does that too, right?
No.
Yeah,
What?
she'll just skip through. Like if we're on a road trip or something, she's DJ, she'll just like 20 seconds of this song plays and she's like, "Nah, I'm sick of it. Next one."
Oh, that's funny.
Does she do it because she actually wants to go to the next song, or is she really just trying to get at you?
It's got to be both.
Okay.
It's got to be
So,
both. Yeah.
yeah.
Love it.
Yeah.
I love it. There were a couple other things I was going to ask you, Taylor. Just in our current climate, we're trying not to talk too much about it and just stay positive with everything. But
Yeah.
do you have any favorite adult beverages of the moment?
Mm. Um, we've been drinking a lot of Trulies Honestly,
Okay.
that's been our go-to.
Yeah.
They're just so delicious and easy to drink
Yeah.
and remind you of summertime. Been putting those in orange juice and making
Whoa.
like a beer mimosa, and it's
Life hack.
excellent. Yeah, right.
It's a great idea.
So start your Monday that way.
Here in 6 minutes, it's time for Truly.
Yeah, for
Um,
sure.
yeah.
Yeah. What are you guys excited? Like, what do you feel like is going to be a positive outcome of all of this?
I'll speak personally first. Excuse me. Just going to the online platform has been really cool. Um, because I didn't think I would keep as many students around or that it would work very well. But kind of figuring that out was just really cool for like in the future I could teach someone who's in like Montana if they
Right.
happened upon my website or something. So that's really exciting. Man, just the community in the music world too. Like within the past 2 weeks, everyone I know that I've played music with in the past has been like, "Hey, let's start collaborating on stuff." Like it was 2 or 3 weeks of, "Oh my gosh, this sucks. Like there's no shows to play. We don't get to get together and rehearse and like write new things." And then after that sort of wore off, it was like, "Okay, let's start getting busy and writing some music." So
I love it.
yeah. What do you think, Paul?
Work wise, our main business is the food truck, which
Yeah.
we're already set up to do everything that's going on. Uh, Mine is more, not to go on a deep level, but more of a self evaluation. Um, Asher knows this, and obviously we've just met. I am a like super capitalist.
Hmm.
Like but it's more of it's just not worth it anymore. And that's just being, because in order to build big things, you have to put in a lot of hours. Um, and it's kind of like what's more important, having a better, bigger family. And I don't mean bigger because we don't need any more. Um, so
Just one more,
you don't
Paul.
know that we have seven. So yeah, well, and there's one of them.
It's fun of us.
Um, um, but a better, bigger impact and lasting impact at home, because what really matters. I mean, and I think, I honestly think a lot of people are shifting their heads into this. Because there are definitely people that aren't, and they're going to make giant empires, and just, I mean, they're going to take this as an opportunity to grow whatever is important to them. And, something is, and there's nothing wrong with that being important to you.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not trying to take away from that. This is just more self-evaluation. It was, when I was getting the truck ready to go out this week, which took, a couple of days, even though everything's good, and, still you've got to go buy product. We threw everything away. Like, it's starting over.
Wow.
Which is yeah, everything. I mean, from vinegars to salt and peppers, everything. We started over. It's there was kind of a look from the kids at one point of like, oh no, he's leaving, and it just was like,
Mm.
all right, guys, but I'm not working these 2 days, these 3 days for sure, and I'm only going to do this at night and not during the day. And but at night, that's when we sit and have dinner. And it was like, oh man, but this is when I have to go out. It's like one of those, you have to do
Yeah.
it. And and it's a real it's a real honest conversation at that point. But, I personally need to go, wait a minute, how hard, because I'm an all in or all out person.
Mm.
And I know that. And when you know that about yourself, it's easy to fix that thing. And, I just don't want to miss out.
Yeah.
I just don't want to miss it. I don't want to miss the special times that we've had over the past 4 or 5 weeks of, the laughter and the fun and and we've gone really positive. Like, we haven't spoken about, we've spoken about finances with our kids, definitely, about, why it's important to save, and why, and we and we are naturally, and we tend to save anyway. So we were okay financially through this, but it was like, hey, these are the reasons why, and this is why people are panicking. It's not because they're bad people. It's not because they're bad planners. It's
Right.
just because this is real. This is real. And when you get down to, people weren't upset on the financial side, and I'll just say they weren't concerned with stuff they're getting or lessons or soccer practice or anything like that. They were concerned with paying their bills and buying food. And that's when it became real. Hey, baby, I love your dancing, but can you just wait just a little bit? All right. Hey, also cheetah stripe leggings, beautiful.
Bomb.
So, but
know what I'm getting with my stimulus money now.
no, but I mean, like, and that's the thing is and we got a little bit of the stimulus, right?
Right.
And because and whatever, but I'm like, I'm gonna buy a drone, right? I really want to buy a drone, and one of the comments from one of my friends was, oh, that's not what it's for, and I'm like, no, that's what it's for me, like. And seriously, take care of your home, make sure you're good, support the community. If you're doing those things already, then yes, it's just a bonus to me. Like, just go out and do whatever with it. But, nightly Jeopardy watching, being able, to feed the baby. And those are the things that mean something.
Yeah.
And
So what are your practical, like, logistical things that you're going to do to try and maintain some of that? Because it's so easy to fall back into the old habits.
Right, it is. So part of what mine is that I have to let go of trust. So I just basically have to trust people to operate.
Yeah.
So that's the first thing. And the second thing is to be willing to not have as large of an income in order to pay somebody to do it. And that's where you have to go, all right, is the money you're spending worth it? Can you do it first? Like, that has to be answered. Obviously, in a business sense, can you do it? Right. Mm-hmm. And if you could, if you're making $100,000 a year, right. And I'm throwing numbers out just because it's easy percentage. If you're making $100,000 a year and somebody will do your job for 40, well, can you lessen your expenses, live on 60, and be able and spend more time at? That's the my light almost fell again. That's the real conversation of, like, can I teach a guy that doesn't have the same family structure, or a girl that doesn't have the same family structure that I do, that is not what is the most important and the elite thing in their life.
Right.
And it sounds bad to say, what can I get them for? What can I pay them that's an appropriate, responsible, adequate amount for them to do even half of what I do?
Yeah.
So that I can take that time and plug it. And I think a lot of times as an entrepreneur, especially serial entrepreneurs, what you do is you figure out that you have more time. And then instead of going, oh, I have more time and I can go home and spend more time at home, they go, I have more time. What else can I start?
Yeah. Like
right.
Work.
Right.
That is me in a nutshell. And again, we've always talked about being transparent on this. And Asher and I have talked. I've got something written I'll put out probably tomorrow or the next day after I look at it, but it is, don't be at the gate ready to go. And I think I mentioned it earlier. It's just really been on my heart. Like these guys that are ready to just jump into, and I'm not, and the reason I keep saying guys is because it's typically a male thing. And that's just me, calling a spade is that they want to get into, I'm ready to go back to work so bad. Well, don't be ready to go back to work so bad that you miss your family.
Yeah.
Right. And, I've talked to corporate people, like a couple of CEOs and that have sent their people home to do work from home. And they've actually had better productivity since people have been home, even though the hours have been shorter. They've had more work done in less amount of time.
That's awesome.
And the conversation is, all right, well, if we help them set up a home office, we can actually take that expense of running a corporate office into helping them build a home office at their home. And now they're at home, because a lot of, missing out at home actually is the commute. I mean, you look at 2 hours a day, you look at all those things. So
Yeah.
I know I went on a tangent about being at home, but I'm loving it.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's awesome.
Now there are days where we're like, we need to get away from each other. Like, let's be honest. But for the most part, it's been really awesome. So that's kind of where I'm going.
Yeah.
I don't even know if I answered the question, honestly.
I think you got it. It was in there somewhere. Well, Taylor, to end things here, how would you answer that question? And please plug Golden Roast as much as possible.
Absolutely. Yeah, I think having 2 boys and being home with them as much, I'm in the same boat of just really trying to find ways to work smarter, not harder. And, I was definitely somebody that I just throw myself all in. And I was finding that I was just at the end of the day, I was coming home and just didn't have the same energy to kind of deal with their end of day stuff. And
Shenanigans.
so now I want to, I think for me, it's going to be more about planning ahead and looking at my time more efficiently and seeing where I can do things ahead of time and be more prepared, so that I'm not just throwing it all together last minute, so that I can really have that time. Like at 5:00, I'm going to be going home and I'm going to be spending this time and being way more mindful about that experience with them than I was before. I'm excited to try and integrate a lot of the practices that I've had with meditation and exercise and all that, and maintain it as we open back up and get some normalcy back in our lives.
Yeah, for sure. Yeah, I'm pretty excited about that, and I think for me, like, Lindsay was writing her dissertation for the first few weeks of the quarantine, which was, I keep making making the joke she would have been quarantined anyway, but then for her coming out of that, it's like we built things with Legos for like 2 hours last night, and it's like, oh,
Yeah.
this is great. We could maybe just stay here.
Yeah, it is. I think there's so many people that are just like, wow, this is awesome. How do we do this more?
Yeah, exactly.
So cool to see.
Exactly. Yeah, cool. Well, thank you so much for talking with us, and it has been great having another coffee person on, since we are 8 a.m. coffee.
Coffee. Get you guys some coffee. So I'll throw you some out to your favorite roasts, and I will send them your way.
Cool. That would be awesome.
I need you to grind it for me.
I will grind it for you. I will only throw in a few spices.
Perfect. Just a lot of cayenne. Yeah, and people can buy things on the website, right?
Yep.
Cool.
TGI Roast, and we've started our online ordering. You don't have to do it that way, but it is definitely convenient and easy. And then you can select a window of time to come pick it up, and it'll be ready for you. And we'll do the whole like, here's your stuff from 6 feet away, and I hope you enjoy the rest of your day.
I imagine it's like an Inspector Gadget arm that sort of just like hands
it feels like that. Yeah. We are fortunate enough that we had a window kind of ready for this setup. So we just had Tito, that woodworking person, make us like a makeshift shelf to just insert into the window.
Awesome.
And so we have like a door, like an actual doorbell on the side of the window, and people push that, and I'm like pushing up the window. I'm like, hello, here's your coffee.
That's pretty awesome.
It's great. Yeah. I hope we keep it. I think we're gonna keep it around for a while.
For sure.
Is it like a basement window? Sorry, like is it like one of the like the half
super
window?
Like a basement window. Yes.
Yeah. Sorry, that makes me think of I had a friend that lived in his parents' house. He lived in the bottom half of a split foyer, and he got busted so many times crawling onto his porch because his parents used to go outside out front and like hang out as a married couple, and he'd like crawl out and be like, I was just checking things out and like crawl back in.
Nothing to see here.
Right. Cool. Well, Taylor, again, thanks so much for joining us, and
Thank you guys.
We'll be tuning back in tomorrow morning.
Awesome.
See ya.
It's over.
Bye.
It's over.